CVA's AccuraSeries, Bergara barrels for guaranteed accuracy, nitride for guaranteed rust proofing, and a rifle guaranteed to be the best muzzleloader you've ever shot. CVA, it's just a better gun.
This segment's being sponsored by Tri-Green Equipment. Stop in and see them at 21 locations in Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee. They can take care of all your Honda, Steel, and John Deere needs. All right, guys, welcome back to the studio. Tonight we've been talking a little bit of deer hunting. We've got a hunt going on in the middle of the early rut, which we're fixing to go back over to and finish that up here in just a minute. But we've been talking about late season, you know, and we've kind of discussed, of course, food. Can't stress that enough. Right now it's all about food and finding those travel corridors between bedding and food, which might be what I found with that spot earlier where those deer were coming across so much. But I think that's, you know, that's a really big thing. And again, we mentioned low pressure. And, you know, for the guys that hunt public land a lot, which first off, we still hunt it some anyhow. You're going to see a hunt next week with me hunting on a piece of public ground. But on top of that, you know, we used to do it a lot. And my point in that is, it's even more so for those guys as far as pressure goes. Everybody, you know, muzzleloader opens on these WMAs, and yeah, some of them, they really get pounded for, you know, there for a couple of weeks. But that just seems to, especially on public ground, right there about the 1st of December, it just seems to stop. And at that point in time, you know, everything starts going more back to normal for these bucks. And, you know, you want to get in there, figure out where's he bedding. He's probably not wanting to move as far anymore. Now, he will if he needs to, but he's probably going to find some food source somewhere nearby. And he's just going to kind of lay up and keep checking those until he sees a reason to take off again. Now, there's studies out in the Midwest and places like that of bucks traveling for miles and miles and miles. And I'm not saying they won't do that here, because they will in some cases. But you know as well as I do, most of the time around here, for them to travel miles and miles and miles, they're going to have to go up Briley Parkway or something. You know what I mean? There's only so much they can do. So they tend to stay in tighter pockets anyway. So this time of year, if you can figure out where he's at, a lot of times you can figure out where he's
just learning to live with the pressure. You know, they don't like to move completely out of their home range unless it's just a ton of pressure. Of course they will, but and then any chance they get to return back, you know, they're going to do that. You know, lack of pressure. You know, no doubt the last month has been more human intrusion in the woods than all year.
That's right.
But I mean, they know when that pressure's, you know, done gone too. So, you know, just looking at those pockets, you know, just keep nose to the grindstone and keep at it. You know?
November's definitely #1 month for hunting activity. You know, so sometimes you're giving them time to calm down and relax a little bit and get back into a normal state. But this is, and also too, we keep talking about bucks, you know, this is a great time of year to take some of your does too. If you're looking to do some doe management, I always wait until December, what I call December, to be honest. You've heard me call it that before too. But if you want to get out and get some meat, I would rather do that now rather than back in bow season or something when it's 85 degrees. I typically try to take my does now. So here in the next few weeks, I'm going to try for that one more big buck, you know, here for a couple of weeks. But when the kids get out for Christmas break, hey, it's no holds barred.
I'm the same way. I like to do mine at the end. I mean, really for the main reason of, I know I've exhausted maybe any chance of killing any more big ones, really.
Once
and then I like
to
do my doe management at the end.
And on top of that, I'm not rushing down there to try to hurry up and get it processed and put in the cooler as fast as I can, or go running to the processor. I like to be able to take my time and let them hang for a couple days, and I just think it comes out with better meat that way. And it's just not having that rush of having to get it out of the woods so quick. It's a great time to get and they're grouped back up. So it's a good time to make sure you're getting the does you want, you know, getting a good mature doe or whatever. Good time to take kids.
It is. You know, and so, you know, what you said, talking about grouping back up, you know, even sometimes just late in December, you'll start even seeing the bucks younger bucks start getting back together. again. You'll start transitioning into that, sometimes late in the year. And, but we got 2 weeks left.
Yeah.
Or more.
They're starting to push around, kind of nudge each other around a little bit more again, too. I've noticed in pictures in the last few days, these young bucks are kind of getting feisty with one another again, kind of poking around, establishing that order again. But the good ones are still moving. But they're still moving. They seem to be alone. I got that one picture I showed you. It was a good deer a few days ago. He was traveling alone. My buddy Jack, his son Jesse, congratulations, by the way, Jesse. But a few days ago, he took his best buck ever in one of our little food plots up there, and he had been watching a bunch of young bucks all morning, just kind of toying around together. And then here come a nice buck alone. Come out, and he come out to check out fields, what he did, and was just circling that field, checking to see if there's any does out there. And there wasn't, just a bunch of little knucklehead, young bucks, but he come out there to check it.
What's always interesting is, there's some guys like in West Tennessee down in there where Anthony is, and every year, like the guys over in Franklin County and over in there, they talk like the best part of the rut is just now happening for them.
Yeah.
They have they're actually their peak right now.
Yeah, they say that's how it is with a lot of areas in Tennessee, especially the more southern areas. Yeah. It's supposed to be. They say, well, they don't rut here till December anyway. Yeah. And we see it pretty strong in December, but obviously not the same as we do in November.
Not where I'm at either.
Yeah, we're typically that mid-November, from the 10th to about the 15th or so seems to be the strongest. But then you turn around December 10th to about the 15th. It's when we tend to be the strongest again now. Right. So it's a good time, right now in particular too, to catch one. Again, you get one doe in heat and it's game on for everything in town then. Yeah. It makes a big difference. So what are you going to be doing in the next few weeks? You going to be doing I'm going to be hunting Middle Tennessee still. I still got one more deer. I still got one more tag, even though I really don't have a target buck right now. I'm still kind of looking. I'll check cameras. I scouted yesterday. I check cameras. Look for sign. Just reading sign, looking for maybe other places to move to, and just mainly try to get a target buck. You got one good one already.
Yeah, I got a nice deer, and but so really right now I don't really have one on the radar, but I'm still looking.
Yeah. Well, he might show up. Our buddy Anthony, he got a nice buck this morning that was chasing does, and I'm gonna tell this on him. He won't mind it, but this buck comes out that he was familiar with. He already knew the buck, so when he come running out in the field, it was game on immediately. It wasn't no let's wait and see. So he gets up, shoots the buck, makes a good shot. Buck goes down, and had hardly had time to get over the excitement of that, and here come a monster of a buck running out behind them, chasing the same doe, and Anthony had no idea it was there. And he said, man, I had to watch that thing. It run out of the woods and stood there and looked around and bumped that doe and run her back across. And there wasn't a thing in the world he could do about it. So, but my point is, this is also a time of year when you see bucks that you have not seen all year.
And he'd been watching that deer since he was a year and a half old.
He had been watching the buck that he shot. So, like I say, as soon as he saw it, it wasn't like where you would typically wait and see if there's another one with him or something like that. He just went ahead and immediately shot him, because he knew that it was on his hit list, and that was that. He wasn't waiting to see if there was another one behind him.
And that's one of the great things I love about running cameras. Yeah. It's opened up a whole new world for hunters. You can just seasonal pattern deer. Yeah. You have a history with that deer, and you watch that deer's habits, and you study it, and that deer, and it's just so much more rewarding when you let that deer get mature, and then you take your target deer that you basically know and you watch, in person and on camera for 4 years or more.
Yeah, and then it comes together and it makes a big difference. And he's probably just as tickled for that reason, as he was, over the bigger buck being there. Right. But it just goes to show he probably runs more cameras actually than anyone I know, to be honest, than anyone I know. and doesn't have any pictures, no pictures of that buck, no prior history with him, not ever seen him before, and Anthony hunts 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So that just shows you right there, just because you're not getting pictures of him. Because with these cameras, Jack and I was talking about this the other day, if you think about it, think about the odds of a deer walking in bow range of you anyway, a mature buck walking in bow range of you. Well, all right, so now the mature buck's not got to walk by you in bow range 360 degrees. Now you're asking a mature buck to walk within bow range right there.
Right.
If you think about it, that's basically what you're doing with that camera. So the point is, what's the odds of that buck coming through there over and over, but not walking in that little 20-yard spread in front of that camera?
Right.
To come by there, especially when you're just setting up on crossings like we are, or ditch crossings is what we use a lot of times. We'll find where they're crossing a creek or a ditch or something, or a low spot in a fence or whatever have you. But the deal is, just because you're not getting him on that camera does not at all mean that it's not there.
You can't live and die by the camera.
Absolutely not.
I like to use them, but they do not replace regular hunting skills, scouting, knowing your properties, being out there visually seeing. Because I mean, how many times have you been out there and you've seen bucks chasing, and you've seen deer activity, and you were sitting there like, well, none of them went in front of my camera. I watched all this activity this morning. I wouldn't have got none of that on camera, and you watched it personally from a tree stand.
That's right. Yeah, I did.
So, I mean,
and I wouldn't have had any of that on camera. Well, guys, we're going to have to get ready to take another quick break, and I'll be right back here in just a minute with some more Southern Woods and Waters.